Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Jen. Thanks for joining me for this live stream class tonight. So if you've got your space all set up, I want to start by letting you know a couple of props that we're going to use tonight. You'll see I've got 2 blocks behind me and I've got 2 blankets. 1 or 2 is fine. And if you only have 1 block, that will do. So don't worry if you've just got 1 block, you might want it. And if you don't have a block, that's fine too. I will give you modifications. You'll also see behind my right shoulder a chair. And if you happen to have a chair that's available nearby, I would encourage you to maybe bring it into your space. You might want to use it for balance. And also there's a version of a squat that we're going to do with the chair tonight. So if this particular version of Malasana or squat is not accessible for you, then I would encourage you to get a chair and have it available. I'm going to show you a couple of options, a couple of modifications. This is one, and using the chair is another option. And this will be for later in our practice. So, having said that, I wanted to just talk with you briefly before we get started. And we're going to start standing in just a moment. But so you can hear me better and see me better, I just want to sit down a little closer to the screen here. So, we are entering the season of fall, as is evident by our weather, and it really feels like November outside. I'm glancing out the windows here at our beautiful water studio, and it's still raining outside, day 3, I think. And we've all noticed this shift, right? We've noticed increased lethargy, having to put socks on the feet, maybe less motivated, perhaps some increased anxiety with the shift and the change. And so through this season of fall, it's a time of transition. And from the Ayurvedic lens, this is the Vata season. And so we're moving into that season now. And it's really important throughout this time of transition to do whatever we can to stay grounded. So establish routines in your day, daily practice, whatever that is. Make sure that you're eating warm, wet foods, and having a very grounded asana practice. So we're gonna get started tonight with a grounding practice focused on establishing roots. And so there's a little message I came across yesterday. Some of you may have heard this one before. It's a Chinese proverb. And it says, when the roots are deep, there's no need to fear the wind. And if you visualize that, visualize maybe a plant or a tree growing not only broad roots, but deep into the earth. And if you imagine now that tree moving into fall when the leaves change and they drop off and everything dries out and the wind swirling around, right? That tree is rooted, that tree is established, it's grounded. And so we can use that as a metaphor for our bodies and our minds as we move into this Vata season, into this season of transition and change, to find ways to not only become aware of our roots, but to focus on nourishing them so that they can go not just broad, but also deep. And so we'll begin this practice today with that emphasis on grounding. So, as I mentioned, we're going to start standing. So I'm just going to move my blocks off to the side. And if you have your chair available, you might want to place it just off to the side on your mat. You can have the side of it, the back of the chair facing you, because we're going to do some balancing poses in a little while, and it might be helpful to have that available for you to hold on to. So bring it over so that it's within reach, and then find Tadasana on your mat. And let's start by looking down at the feet. And as far as the stance between your feet, completely up to you. You can have your toes, big toes touching. You can have a little bit more space. So take a look down and see where your feet are in space. And then make some adjustments, right? You can bring the eyes to the horizon now and find your Tadasana. Maybe bringing the shoulders up toward the ears to start, And then letting them slowly drop down, feeling that sense of ease. Shoulder blades gliding down the back, arms just resting by your sides, palms facing the thighs. And sensing your foundation here, sensing the feet. Sensing the full length of the feet, both feet. From the edge of the heels all the way to the tips of the toes, long. Taking in the sides of the feet, left and right. And finding balance in whatever way that works for you, both from side to side, from foot to foot, and forward and back. Finding balance, finding your center. Good. Taking in the texture of the mat, the temperature of the surface that your feet are connected to. And perhaps visualizing the sensation of grounding or plugging in, rooting the soles of the feet. And with that as your foundation, take a nice long breath and extend the spine up, reaching the crown toward the sky. And just feel the strength here in this very simple pose. Aware of any thoughts that arise. And take a couple of slow, easy breaths in and out through the nose. Eyes are soft, jaw is soft, tongue is relaxed. One more nice, slow, big breath, inhaling through the nose. Exhaling. Good. Please bring hands to the heart in Anjali Mudra. Feel the hands connecting right at the heart center, thumbs resting on the sternum. And keeping the shoulders soft, let the head bow down toward the heart, dropping the chin. And if it's helpful, you might close the eyes here. Again, just tuning into your foundation, the connection of the hands, tuning into the desire of your heart for this practice. Maybe it's, I am rooted. Awesome. Good, let your head lift up, eyes to the horizon, and then bring the arms up. Inhaling as you lift the arms up, and then exhaling, bringing the arms down alongside the body. We're going to start with just some warm-ups, little half sun salutes. Inhaling your arms out to the sides and up. Exhale, drawing the prayer to your chest, bending the knees and taking a nice fold here. Let the fingertips rest on your shins and inhale, come up for a half lift. Extend the sit bones in the opposite direction as your sternum, reaching, spine long, belly connected up toward the lumbar spine, and then fold. Look at your feet. Good. We're going to rise up, bring hands to the heart again. Anjali Mudra, bend the knees. Press down through the feet as you stand up, back to Samasthiti and then Tadasana. We're going to try that again. So feel again the rooting, right? If you moved, there would be actually little dents in your mat from this sense of connection. Let's try it again. Inhaling up, exhaling, hands down, bend the knees, lift your tail, fold. Root your fingertips on the shins or on the floor. Inhale up halfway, and then exhale, fold. Good. Hands to the heart, Anjali Mudra, bend the knees, inhale, come up strong. Feel the connection between the inner thighs and the core, and then exhale, Tadasana. One more time here. Inhale, exhale, inhale up halfway, exhale, fold. hands to the heart. Inhale, rise. And exhale, arms at your sides. Good. Take 3 breaths here. And if it's in your practice, find a Ujjayi breath, letting the exhale kind of pass over the glottis in the back of the throat, making that sound, wave sound. Try a couple more. Good. All right, let's shake that out. Shake off the feet a little bit. And we're gonna find one of the blocks. If you had one, great. If you don't, that's fine too. We're gonna make this work. You can use a book, or you can just do it without the block. It's gonna get some movement in the hips. So if you've got your chair, you might want it nearby you. Actually, I'm gonna change sides here. So if you're gonna use the chair, have your foot, have the block right next to the chair, and you're gonna place your foot on the block. Then we're gonna simply stand on the block, which is gonna make this opposite leg come off the floor. This is what we want, okay? And we're just gonna do these little swings, little kicks forward and back. So from the side, it's gonna look like this. We're gonna do a little flexion and extension. Just little kicks. And I want you to kind of let the leg hang heavy and just sort of swing it, keeping your spine long and rooting down through the foundation of the foot that's on the block. So again, if you're doing this without the block, you can just swing it back, kind of let the toes touch. This feels a little bit different because you have to bend the knee slightly. And the block just gives you that extra leverage. Okay. All right, coming back here, just let that leg, if you're on the block, let the leg just hang there, just hang there. And now move it out to the side and then across, like a soccer kick. So out to the side and across. Again, I'm holding onto the chair. You can have the arm out if you want to challenge your balance a little bit more. We're just trying to get into those hip rotators here. Keeping a slight bend in the standing knee. Awesome. Good. And then come back to Tadasana and just sort of observe for a moment side to side. It rained on when I came in, so I have a nice spot on my shirt here. And just notice the difference. Notice the difference in your feet, your ankles, your hip, where you're feeling that sensation, getting the blood flowing, getting the prana moving through the lower body, which is what we're going for here. Before we go to the other side, we're going to stretch the top of the foot here. So again, you can hold on to the chair and just step that same foot. So the leg that was swinging, in my case, it was the right. Just going to bring the toes down and spread the toes as best you can and press down, getting a nice stretch across the top of the foot, the toes, the front of the ankle, and even into the shin. Keep your eyes at the horizon. If you're doing this without the chair, hands can be on the hips, arms can be out to the side. Stay nice and tall, lifted. And this can be intense, so breathe. Nice. Okay, then shake it out. And let's go to the other side. So I'm just gonna move my chair over so that I can still face y'all. And then you're gonna stand with the opposite foot on the block this time. So the block is going the long way, if you haven't already figured that out. And just start by standing here and letting that opposite leg kind of hang. You can even do some rotations in the ankle here. These are just some other options for you. And then we're gonna start the little kick forward, kick back. And again, opposite arm can come out for support. I've got a slight bend in that standing leg. I'm just doing a little flossing here, a little hip flossing. Just let it swing. Yeah. Nice. I wish you were here with me, all of you, soon. Okay. Then we're gonna do the side. So moving out to the side, a little soccer kick and across, and out to the side and across. And again, I'm trying to keep my posture nice and straight. Every once in a while, I might have to do a little toe touch. Good. All right, and then come off that block. You can actually put the block off to the side for now. And let's stretch the front of the other leg. So you're just gonna hold on to the chair if you want, or hands on the hips, step that foot back. Press the toes down as you spread them. So trying to get each toe down to the ground. It's kind of tricky for me to get my pinky toe down here. And feel that nice stretch along the front side of the foot and the leg. And it might be interesting to note here the variation from side to side. Good. All right, shake that out. You can put the chair off to the side for now. We'll come back to it later. Okay. So I want you to come back into mountain pose and just notice the difference here. First, looking down at your feet again, checking your stance. Letting the shoulders drop. Just take 2 breaths here. Find your center. Good. All right, we're going to challenge the balance a little bit. And before we do, I want you to bring your awareness to the pit of the abdomen here, right below the belly button. Draw it back toward the spine. And then turn on your inner thighs, right? So turn on your inner thighs as if you're squeezing a block, which you could put the block between your thighs if you'd like. So keep that action, keep your core turned on. And as you inhale, we're going to rise up onto the toes and then back down. So a little sort of plie type move. And as you notice, I'm trying to keep my ankles in alignment. They sometimes want to pop out, so try to keep them in alignment. And maybe you bring the arms up and back down. So this would be an inhale and an exhale. Maybe the arms come up halfway. One more. Good. Okay, we're going to change this up a little bit as we're preparing for some warriors here. So hands at the heart, come on into Utkatasana. And again, look down. The feet are long, the toes are long. So don't let your toes crunch or lift. And you can go as low as you want here. You can go as low as you want. Lift the bottom ribs off the thighs and squeeze that imaginary block between your inner thighs and draw the belly button back, or the right below the belly button. Arms can come out if you want. Good. Let's inhale, come up, and exhale back down into Utkatasana. Bring your arms behind this time. Inhale, come up. Exhale, back down. Okay, and if you want, you can rise up onto your toes, play with that on the inhale, and then exhale, sink. And then inhale. It's tricky. And then sink. And one more. Good. Okay, so we should have the blood flowing now. Let's come to the front of the mat. And we're gonna do some lunges here to start before we move into our warrior series, okay? So we're gonna do the half sun salute again. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to the heart, bend and fold. Inhale, come up halfway if you'd like. And exhale, fold. Bend your knees and step back your left leg, step your left leg back. And come on into a low lunge. So you can put a blanket underneath your knee if you need a little extra support. Bring the hands on top of the thigh. And we're just gonna move the hips forward and back, watching how that knee is tracking right over the middle of the foot. So let me face you so you can see this. Just moving forward and back. I'm not putting any weight here or letting my shoulders creep up. Just moving forward and back. Okay, so this idea of rooting takes on a whole different feel when we're in an asymmetric pose like we're in right now, right? So it's one thing to be in mountain pose in Tadasana, both feet on the ground. It's another thing to have one foot in front of the other. So let's play with this a little bit. So come into a low lunge shape that feels good for you, wherever you want to be with your hips. Again, lift the ribs off the thighs, the thigh. Press your feet down and feel your connection, feel your root, front and back. You can have the back toes curled under if you prefer for better balance. What happens when you take your left arm up? What happens when you lean a little bit over to the right? Keep rooting, keep rooting, keep rooting. Good. Let's bring that arm back down. Bring the hips back. Come to hands and knees for little cat-cow. Inhaling into the the cow. Exhaling the cat. Notice what's happening in the pelvis here as you come through each shape. Keeping the hands and the feet active. So your feet now, the feet of this shape, are the palms of the hands, the fingers, the knees, and the tops of the feet. So root. Don't just go through the motions, root. 2 more. Okay, last one. Come to neutral, wag your tail, side to side. And then let's come into child's pose. So let the knees go wide, big toes can touch. And before you put your head down and fold, I want you to snuggle those hips down toward the heels. So you can even do this little rocking back and forth, snuggling in. Tops of the feet should feel nice and stretched out by now. Lock underneath your forehead, right? So put it in the medium position, high position, whatever. We're going to keep the arms on the down low right now. You can even bring them down alongside the body. Maybe finding your Ujjayi breath here again, inhaling and exhaling. Let the hips sink with each exhalation, closing that gap ever so slightly, that gap between sit bones and heels. Okay, last breath here. You can move the block off to the side and come back to tabletop position and bring the other leg forward. So the left leg's gonna come forward this time, left foot. And you're gonna just move through your low lunges. So this is one that I teach all the time, really, particularly during this time of COVID and all the sitting that we're doing. It's so important to keep the psoas, this big hip flexor here, in good shape and keep it nice and long because it tends to get contracted from all the sitting we do. So make sure you're moving with the breath, knees tracking right over the foot. You're taking this to where it's comfortable for you. Maybe your movements are small. And then find a place to stay, okay? Find a place that you feel comfortable kind of holding this shape. Then back foot can be curled under, back toe can be curled under. But we're rooting down, front foot, back foot, rooting. You might even feel that energy of the whole shin bone of the back leg reaching down. Okay, so what happens when you bring an arm up? Right arm up. And then a little lean over. Root down, root down. Good. Let's come back up. And back to tabletop position. Wag your tail a little bit side to side. And this time we're going to get a little bit more into the root, near the root chakra area, and just do some little sort of dog hydrant moves. So I want you to bring your right leg out and just make some big circles with that knee. Big, big. You can do this on your forearms if that's more comfortable for your wrists. Bring it through 4 big circles and then change direction. Big. Try to keep it smooth, so slow it down. You can shake it out. Wag your tail again. And then let's go to the other side. Left leg out. Rotating. Big, big circles, big. So we are working with the pelvic floor here. We're working with the sacrum, the pelvis, the hip joint. Change directions 4 times. Big, slow it down. Really getting in there. Okay, shake it out again and back to child's pose. I want you to see how things are feeling now. All right, so support your head. Maybe that space between the sit bones and the heels is a little bit smaller. Maybe you can change the height of the block underneath your head. And just take some nice breaths here, nourishing those roots. Feel all parts of the body that are connecting to the surface beneath you, taking in the temperature and the texture of the mat or the surface that you're on, and really allowing yourself to root deeper. If your mind's really active as we stay here for a few more breaths, just come back to that sensation of connecting and rooting down. Okay. So from child's pose, you can walk your hands back toward your knees. Bring your knees so that they're right underneath the hips. Curl the toes under. I'm going to do a little toe cruncher here, moving the hips back. Just once again, creating some flexibility in the toes, the feet, and the ankles. You can take this into thunderbolt pose if you'd like, coming up a little bit higher. This is optional. If you're here and you're gritting your teeth and holding your breath, then you need to back off. So little svadhyaya, self-awareness here. All right, 2 more breaths here. Really stretching those toes, all 10. All right, and then let's lift the knees up, come onto the soles of the feet, lift your buns, and fold over your legs. Now here, if you want to take a little bit more relaxed variation of Uttanasana, you can come into Padahastasana where you bring the hands underneath the soles of the feet. That's an option. Or you can hold on to opposite elbow, let the head dangle down, and move the head around side to side, forward and back, just to release any tension in the base of the skull. Letting the tail be light, head be heavy. Breathing here. Okay. So if you know it's safe for your spine to roll up, you can do that, turning on your core before you start the roll-up process. Otherwise, the rest of us are going to bring hands to the heart, bend the knees. Actually, let's put hands on the thighs. Come on into Utkatasana again. Squeeze the inner thighs toward one another, and then rise up. Feel the fire there. Feel the heat in the low body. 3 breaths in your Tadasana pose. Soften, lengthen, and root. Okay. Let's come forward toward the top of the mat if you're not already there. And we're going to find a lunge. You can step the right foot back first, please. So left foot's in front. You're going to step back and find Anjanayanasana. So you're going to keep the back heel lifted. And just as we did in the low lunge, we're just going to bend that knee and straighten. Okay? And if you want a little bit more stretch for that back hip flexor, you can put a little bend in the knee. So instead of having legs straight, put a bend in the knee. My leggings are blending in with the curtain here. Hopefully you guys can see. It's getting a little bit more into that base of the pelvis. Last one. Okay, let's take this into warrior 1. So you're going to turn the back foot out, drop the heel. Find some space between the feet for your hips here. So think railroad tracks or ski tracks with your feet. And then bend that front knee and find your warrior two or warrior one. Sorry, we're gonna start with cactus arms for this warrior one. And before we go any further with arms, I want you to feel both feet, right? So just like we were in Tadasana pose, when we looked down at the feet and we were lengthening from the base of the heels all the way to the tips of the toes, feel that in both feet now, right? We're in this asymmetric pose, but feel the difference when you have one foot in front of the other. Okay, from here, bring your arms into eagle's pose. So Garudasana, arms. And we're gonna do both sides, so it really doesn't matter what side you're on now. And squeeze your arms together. You can take this variation. You can keep the arms here. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna come into a variation of humble warrior, but I want you to take any image of, preordained image of humble warrior out of your mind. And we're just gonna come into this slowly. We're gonna start by arching the upper back into sort of a cat. I always get those mixed up. I've been teaching 11 years and I'm still mixing them up. Round up and move the hands away from your face. And if you decide you want to fold deeper, that's fine, but you don't need to. Round up. Keep the back foot engaged. Keep the front toes engaged as well, front toes. One more breath here. Okay, unwind the arms and bring them out to the sides, like a bird, okay? And you can start to straighten that front leg if you want. Or maybe let's keep a slight bend. And we're just gonna flap the wings here, just up and down. Okay. All right, bring hands to the heart. Come back up, lift the back heel, step forward. Tadasana. 2 breaths. Feel both feet. Take in the texture of the mat. Good. Let's do a little symmetrical pose here in between. So we're going to come into Utkatasana. Hands can be at the heart. Both feet anchoring, rooting, even your tail's rooting down. Take a breath here. And as you exhale, fold. You can take a little half lift if you want, and then fold again. And rise up with strength and connection to your core, however it works best for you and your body. And then step your left foot back. Coming into Anjaneyasana on this side. Hands can be on hips, arms can be out to the side. And here's another option, which I didn't show you on the other side, where you can have the chair here for a little support. Just make sure the chair is on your mat so it doesn't slide. Okay, so you're just bending and straightening. And bending. And you're staying, keeping both feet rooted, energy going equally through both feet, even though that back heel's lifted. Okay, let's take this into Vira 1. You turn the back foot out a little bit, drop the heel. Come into Warrior 1 on this side. Cactus arms, find both feet. Okay, both feet, front and back. Look at them if you need to. All right, and then you're gonna draw that left hip crease forward, the right hip crease back, and come into Eagle's arms on the other side. So keep your foundation in alignment. Okay, squeeze, and then we're gonna start with that upper back, that cat. Pull your belly up, just like you would for a cat, as you're squeezing the arms together, rounding. Keep moving the right sit bone back and around. There's a lot going on here. You don't have to go super deep here. We're grounding, we're rooting. That's more important than if we took the pose too far and lost our connection, right? So keep your connection. One more breath. And then release the arms out to the side and just flap the wings here. Good. Hands to the heart. Come back up. Step forward. Ta-da. Feel your feet. Okay. I know we've been standing a long time. We're gonna do one more balancing posture here, just to see if we can put all this together, challenge ourselves a little bit more with not only asymmetry, but balance, and still maintain that foundation. And if it helps you, again, once we get into the pose, if it helps you to visualize your roots beneath you, then I would suggest you kind of bring that into your mind. So back in the top of your mat, right foot steps back. We're gonna come right into the warrior one. Cactus arms, okay? And then bring the arms together, elbows stay shoulder height. Just press your hands and arms together, forearms together. Keep your shoulders down, away from the ears. Good. And we're gonna take this into a projected lunge, so you can fold forward a little bit, bring the arms down alongside the body, like you're an arrow about to be launched. Turn on that back foot if it's not already, rooting, 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 and turn on your core. Okay, from here, we're gonna play a little bit with warrior three. You're gonna put your weight more on the front foot, keep that knee slightly bent, and maybe let this back leg lift up. You can bring hands back to the heart if you'd like. You can bring arms out to the side in airplane. You can flap your wings here. Keep the toes of that lifted leg down, and maybe you touch down a few times. Root through the standing leg. Good. Come back, land, step forward. And you'll notice we're taking this time in between the more challenging postures here to root again in Tadasana. Familiar, symmetrical pose, where it's a little easier to find that connection and to experience those deep roots. Okay, I'm gonna complete this balance sequence on the other side. So step your left foot back, warrior one, cactus arms. So again, we're turning everything on. So both feet totally rooted, inner thighs are connecting, core is on. It just so happens you have one leg in front of the other, right? So draw that right sit bone back, left sit bone forward, and then bring the arms together, squeeze. Okay, here we go. We're gonna come into the projected lunge. You can keep your arms here as you kind of come into the fold. Find that integrity in your spine. Keep everything long. So your drishti is out on the floor, maybe 5-6 feet. And then when you feel ready, when you feel balanced, you can blast off. The chair's there too if you want to use the chair in front of you for support, sort of a warrior 2.5. Maybe you flap the wings just for some movement and some fun. Stay rooted. Visualize those deep roots here. And then let's land and step forward. 3 nice grounding breaths. Try Ujjayi breath. Taking in this experience. Two more. Okay. It's time for Malasana for a squat. If you're going to do it without the support, make sure the toes are pointed out. Make sure that as you bend the knees are traveling over the feet, and you're just going to let your tail drop root down. Keep your spine erect so that your sternum is moving into your thumbs in Anjali Mudra. If your heels are lifting, you can put a rolled blanket underneath them. You can also place a block under your tail. So I'm showing you these options. I'm going to show you the chair option in just a sec. Right? So block is there. Feel your feet rooting. If you're going to do this in the chair, and I highly, highly recommend this if this is not already in your practice. Any kitchen chair will do. You'll see I brought a folding chair from home. Feet are going to go wide. Back up so you can see my feet. Feet are going to go wide, and you're here or you're here. So I am not lounging back in the chair. I am actually sitting a little bit forward on the seat. You can see, and I'm here. So again, you can let the arms rest here and have a little gentle pressure. Arms against legs, legs into arms. Think of this as like a seated happy baby variation. Another variation that I want to show you, and so those of you who are in the full Malasana, just keep your breath flowing, maybe moving a little side to side if some movement is craved. You can also put your feet on 2 blocks. This is another way to kind of get at this pose. All right, so clearly a lot depends on the length of your legs and the height of the seat of the chair. All right, so if you're in a full Malasana, enjoy 2 more breaths there. And then we're going to take this into Uttanasana, forward fold. Let your tail lift up, heel toe your feet back to like a Tadasana position, and fold. So we've been in this forward fold a couple of times now. Notice what's changed. Checking with the feet, the belly, the spine, the hips. Good. And from here, we're all going to take a seat. Okay. So, have your legs be long to start. And sit up nice and tall. So you're in Dandasana, staff pose. We're going to come into a variation of Paschimottanasana, which is a seated forward fold. Let your arms come up. This is your inhale, and this is your exhale. So I'm showing a very simple variation here. I'm not going all the way down like I just was in Uttanasana. Really taking the time to feel the connection here. So feel the sits bones and feel yourself rooting, even in the fold. Last breath. Good. Turn on your inner thighs and your belly to bring you back up with an inhale. Let's bend both knees. I'm going to play a little bit with Navasana. Boat pose. You might want to block between the inner thighs just to turn things on. And again, we're focusing on rooting, so let's tune into where we're rooting now. So you should be able to feel those sits bones. If you're on a real cushy surface, it's a little harder to feel. And your hands can be behind your thighs, shoulders down. And you can see I've got my heels anchored right now. My feet are not quite touching, but my inner thighs are parallel, so don't let your inner thighs roll out. So just feel the work here, right? Feel the balance between those points, the sit bones and the heels, okay? And what happens now when you take things out of balance and let one foot lift up and then the other, and then one, and then the other. And what happens when you let the arms come off? And try that again. Squeezing the block between the thighs or squeezing the imaginary block. Stay rooted through the sit bones, stay rooted. And the opposite heel. Good. And finish on the opposite side. Okay, hold on to the backs of the legs, come on up. Let's bring the feet together for Baddha Konasana. Just sitting tall. Okay. Okay, we're gonna play with one, bring your hands to the outsides and bring the legs together. We're gonna play with one more variation of boat pose of Navasana, just to get a little bit more challenge and to find that sense of rooting, not just downward, but within toward the center line, okay? So we're gonna come in that same position we were in, where your feet are on the floor, both heels, and you're finding your sit bones, okay? And we're gonna bring the hands to the heart this time. And we're just gonna go side to side. So you can bring the arms down to one side, and then back, and then the other side, and back, okay? And if you wanna make this more challenging, you can sit back more, and just notice what happens as the weight kind of shifts with the twist. See if you can still find your connection to your center, if you can still find your root here when we take things off balance side to side. So one more cycle, right and left. Good. And then we're gonna roll down, yay. Shavasana, okay? We're not done yet. Think of this as our Tadasana in between some of the work that we did standing. And notice all the touch points here, right? Much greater surface area connecting to the earth. Take 2 more deep breaths. Okay, let's bend the knees. We're gonna come into constructive rest shape, knees bent, feet on the floor, shoulder blades underneath you. And we're gonna come into a variation of bridge tonight. This is gonna be a fairly active variation of bridge because we're gonna work on strengthening the glutes here, as well as opening up the front side of the body. So just as we always do, we're gonna start with a rolling bridge. So you're gonna lengthen through the tail and lift on your inhale, and then you're gonna lower everything back down on the exhale. Okay, so feel your connection here. The feet are long, the toes are long. I should say the feet are rooted and the toes are long. And you're taking things a little bit more out of balance by taking the sacrum and the tailbone off the floor, losing that connection there, but still rooting. Okay, next time that you inhale and lift up, stay there. And then we're going to come up a little bit more with the next breath. Okay, from here, we're just gonna do these little tilts. So we're gonna kind of reach the left pointer, hip pointer forward, and then the right. And as you do this, squeeze your buns. So left one goes forward, squeeze the left bun, right, squeeze that one. And just go side to side here. Keep your connection with your feet, the back of the neck, the back of the head, the eyes are up at the ceiling. Good, okay, once you finish a cycle, now squeeze both. We're keeping the lift, just squeezing, little tiny pulses, tiny, tiny, tiny. Okay, if this is aggravating to the low back or causes any other problems, you can skip this. Okay, and then slowly lower everything down. Right, we're talking to the root here. Let's just move the knees a little bit side to side with baby windshield wipers. Okay. Good. Let's bring both legs up. And then we're going to come into happy baby. So you can hold on to the shins, your pants, the feet. You can hold on to the pinky toe side of the foot or the toes. Let the feet go wide. And make the feet so that they're parallel to the ceiling and the floor. So you want a nice flex in your ankles here. And If you could visualize yourself turned upside down here, you'd be in that Malasana squat, right? So feet are wide, toes are slightly turned out. And just as we did it with the chair variation, you can use the arms, a little strength here to kind of meet the pressure from the legs. Keep reaching your tail long. Then maybe you go side to side. Maybe you don't. On your next exhale, bring the hands to the outside of the legs, bring them together. Apanasana. Moving knees away and back in. So hands on knees, fingers away from your face. Okay. One more posture here. Actually, we're gonna do two more. A little lumbar twist. Very simple. Shift your hips a little bit to the left. Let your arms come into a T or a low V shape, and both knees can drop over to the right. If you would like, you can take that right ankle and rest it on the top of the left thigh. Just keep it away from the knee. And do your best to keep both shoulders connected to the floor. You can turn your head to the side. You can rotate your head. Just breathing here into the side body. Visualizing your connection, visualizing those roots, keeping you steady amidst the wind. Take a nice breath in, and on your exhale, let the knees come back up. Find center with your hips, and then shift them a little bit over to the right. The knees drop to the left. If you have a block handy and you want to add a little support underneath that bottom thigh, you can. And remember, you can cross the bottom leg on the top if you'd like. Big inhale. Exhale, let the knees come back. Shift the hips. Apanasana. One more time. Okay. So your choice for our relaxation tonight. Come into Shavasana pose. You can come into constructive rest, or if you have a chair there, or your bed, or the sofa, or something nearby, you can come into a modified Viparita Karani or modified shoulder stand. The legs up onto the bases of the chair, seat of the chair, and just rest here. Put your legs through the seat or through the back. And just rest here. So make sure your head is supported, maybe a folded blanket underneath your head. Take in the texture of the surface beneath your body. Let your body sink into that support. The breath be smooth and even. Let the body relax. Taking in the sounds around you. Observing sensation, touch of air on your skin, touch of clothing. Noticing taste, smell, shadows and light beneath the eyelids. Just letting your entire body let go. Taking time for stillness. Taking time to nourish and expand those deep roots. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Om Shanti. Namaste, everybody.